So there's like there's there's like four whole journals that we've got on the side that I keep writing stuff down and having like realizations or thoughts and discovering stuff about being part of a system and about what kind of coping mechanisms can help, what kind of like thought reframing can help, and like loads of shit that I'm just like, oh man, that could be a really useful thing to blog about and to bring up and to talk about and stuff. And it's like it's, we're not quite at a place where I think like it's very much treading water. But I mean, you know, before it was drowning. So treading water is really good. It's just, it's like, I don't feel like I have actual, I can sit and plan things and be functional. And like, it's kind of just like the pace of life feels like it just kind of takes me with it and we just surf. And at the minute, that's like the best we've ever fucking done. I'm really proud of us for doing it. And I, I don't feel like I can focus on just going back through our journals and doing leisurely things, you know, and like being like, oh, okay, we can actually, you know, decide to do these things now. I'm like looking at them as I speak. I'm like looking at one of them and being like, I wish I had the focus and the mental bandwidth and space to go through it and do that. It's strange because I feel like I'm really grateful for where we are now and really shocked and really amazed. Like, it was one of the questions that the psychologist asked us today. It was like, you know, what's an average day? And we described like a good average day and like a not so great average day. And then she was, it's also really funny because I feel like I'm afraid that we'll describe a good average day and she'll be like, well, you're clearly functional enough and can work and don't need any of our support services. But when we described a good average day, uh, she was like, what was it like before? And I was like, oh, that's that's interesting to me that you're having this response when I'm like, what if we look like we're doing too well? It makes me wonder like how desensitized I am, I guess, to the treading water and what it looks like to other people because maybe I just can't see it. And yeah, I really think that's the case. I just can't see it, or I guess I'm protected from seeing how bad it still is. And also, this is comparatively like really good. So maybe I just don't have the comparison yet of how good it can get, which is encouraging and also validating because it does feel at the same time like I just is that's yeah, there's where I was going. You know, I feel really grateful and really amazed for where we are and what we're capable of. And like before it was like shit would just happen to us and it was just I don't think I have I don't think I have the words for how bad it could get. Like it used to feel like we were drowning in circumstances and things would just happen and happen and happen and situations would just occur around us and it felt like we were very much helpless and just waiting for pain after pain and sitting in terror of how bad it could really get, sort of paralyzed really a lot of the time. And now it doesn't feel like that. It feels like I don't feel like we're powerless. I feel like we're pretty fucking powerful, actually. And I say that with a feeling of um, I don't know what that feeling is. I don't know what that emotion is. Um, it's not like we're powerful and thus everything is really easy. It's like it's an impossible amount of weight to lift, and we're really powerful and therefore we're capable of it. Um, it takes pretty much all our effort, mental, physical, and emotional, every day to keep running daily life in a way that's bearable. Really, like surviving takes everything, and it's better than being in a place like we were before where we're surviving but we're just getting decimated every day on every fucking level. And like I feel really grateful for where we are and really exhausted and like fucking heartbroken that like there's some things like I want think I don't know what it is. It's like it's like we were so traumatized that I didn't even recognize how bad it was. And now maybe we're gaining enough sort of self-regulation tools to recognize how difficult it's been, and maybe I'm starting to see how difficult it still is even though I'm in it, so I feel like I'm not quite seeing it yet. Like as an example, we have a friend we've like had since like since we were like two maybe. And it was a bit of a tradition to go to this Christmas market. We tried to arrange a date to do it, and I just kept having to reschedule because like we'd have a random night where we'd be up all night because of flashbacks. And although it's like before we'd be thrown into those and it would be barely survivable and we'd have taken a lot of damage and our coping mechanisms would probably not have been healthy ones. It and we'd have felt significantly more pain and distress. More overwhelming amounts of pain and distress with nothing there to counter it or relieve it. I don't feel like the pain and distress really gets less, to be honest. I just feel like we grow around it. Like we get bigger than the pain and the distress. And our ability to soothe each other and ourselves, despite the pain and distress, improves and increases. But I don't feel like the pain and the distress really get less. And you know, it's like okay, so I don't feel like I don't know how to survive, but we get to the end of the night and I'm exhausted. Usually I end up because like if we do get thrown into flashbacks, we tend to be able to make it an experience that we can heal from. Like the last time we had like really fucking just intense ones. It and like panic attacks starting. It it we kind of know what to do that will help with each section. So it ended with like exercise to empowering um intense music and dancing together, and Valentine shouting at the like the feeling of having an abuser stand behind us over our shoulder that just make used to like just make us crumple in on ourselves, want to rip off our fucking skin, and like make you not be able to stop turning around, like you could really really feel it. But the last time it was like instead of having the urge to watch our back and like getting jumpy around doors and stuff, and having to check the house even though we know there's no logical reason to check that, instead of like calming ourselves by modifying how we interact with the environment, it's like we'll do things that empower us internally. So it would be like dancing, moving to music, finding songs that are basically just like fuck off and be like, this is an ode to you, sweet asshole. And like Valentine just shouting like, listen cunt, if you're going to be on our here, you're on our fucking time, and the only thing you're gonna do by like, if we have to suffer your presence, it's gonna be you suffering listening to what a dickhead you are and what an asshole, and how like many ways we could torture you if you lived in a ring of hell that we ran. And like it's just sort of ends up shrinking their image, and although you still get the vile disgusting like harrowing memories, again it's like we grow around them, and it doesn't nothing makes dealing with the like the negatives are never going to be okay, and the duration of time and damage they deal to us really fucking shrinks as our power over them, I guess, increases, and as our view of what these people were like becomes more accurate, and it becomes more obvious that they really were all just pathetic and projecting all of their shit and cowardly and unable to even like remotely deal with things. So this is why it happened, and that's not to justify their actions, because their actions are fucking beyond disgusting and unacceptable. And you see how it's like, you know, so like it's so much better where we're at now, and our ability to fight these things and deal with these things is a lot greater, and we don't take damage from them in the same way. But it's like it still takes, I guess swinging the sword still takes energy out of you, it, even if like the damage is being dealt to them, or like your levels, your XP is increasing and you're getting stronger, but it's still like draining your fucking energy. It's like I really appreciate how we've leveled up and we've gotten better at fighting these things. And I'm really fucking angry and exhausted and heartbroken by the fact that we still have to fight them. Like that there's still it doesn't just stop. They don't just neatly disappear forever. You know, it's like I'm really grateful that it's different and that it's improving. And it's not fucking fair that we have to deal with any of it in any way, even if we're getting really, really, really good and really badass at fucking fighting this shit. And even if every time we face something, we come out of it a bit stronger and a bit more able to stand together, and a bit like with a bit more accurate of an image of how much more powerful we are and how much more fucking minuscule the people who did this to us are. It's like the symptoms still affecting our fucking lives is still fucking unfair. And like, you know, the amount of times we had to reschedule this, we haven't managed to go to this Christmas market that I really, really want to. And like, it doesn't matter how much I want to do something. We only have so much that we can do, and all of our energy and all of our resources go towards surviving. And although I'm really grateful and really glad that I can say that now, and that's not the way it's been so far, and it's been a lot more painful and a lot worse in the past, and this is a lot better and a lot cleaner feeling, and a lot more like I feel like we're leveling as we go and building a, a building who we are in resilience and strength and those things. And it's still like all we can do. And I'm fucking pissed off with that. And that's not fucking fair. I can't just do leisure. I can't just go to the fucking Christmas market and have like a normal night because I can't plan in advance because I don't know when we're going to be triggered or when we're going to be sent into battle. And it's like both at once, you know, and I'm in a really confusing sort of state that I think is valid and I don't need it to change. And it's not fucking fair. And it's not fucking fair. Ah, and I'm really grateful that and I'm amazed and in awe of us. And like learning to fucking fight this shit. It's like we kept getting thrown into boss battles where we'd just take damage, get poisoned and be killed and like get smaller and smaller and like our resources would be fucking gone and we'd like end up with damage over time, fucking shit just all the time, bleeding into our regular life and like effects that were damaging us in day to day things, you know. And now it's like we get thrown into fights and we win them and we level up, and it's still just the getting thrown into fights is all we can do, and it's brilliant and we're brilliant and it's unfair, and I kind of just want to not be. I want to not have trauma in us now. Thank you. I want us to. I want functional multiplicity. I want to just click a button, and us just like be a system, and not have the CPTSD symptoms, and not have the like branding in our nervous system and our responses left over of trauma and of all the experiences of all the cunts we've had to suffer. It's very confusing to express both emotions at once when I'm feeling both at the same intensity, and it's like back and forth between the two. Like, we're fucking amazing. How the fuck we've progressed so much in such a short space of time that now this is how our daily life looks, when before it was just looping through the same shit and damaging us and we couldn't get anywhere. And now it's like improving and we process stuff all the time. Every time it comes up, it's like it's rare that it takes us more than a week of going over something to process it, and then we'll get the next thing, and it's just endless and there's so fucking much, and it's so unfair that it's all there. And I thought that like healing would be making more sense of things and things being neater and more able to be categorized, and it's not. It's us growing around our experiences to be able to hold both, and opposing ideals and messy grey area, conflicting, confusing concepts all at once without it overwhelming our ability to cope. And I'm amazed at how much we can do. And I'm heartbroken that we have to continually do it. Yeah, I think that summarizes it. like if we're very grounded to the body and we do everything right, then and I manage to like ground to the body and be in my emotions in it instead of in my thoughts, which can tangent off and become a bit like maze like, then we can sit with the emotions and be safe in the present in the room. It's like a whole bunch of grounding to different things, really. It's like being grounded, i.e., not dissociated, and in the right, in a state of mind where I can make new connections and new associations can build, and grounded to the room so that I'm not stuck in an emotional, like, different environment in the past, so that I recognize my environment is safe now so that processing can happen, and grounded to the body so that I can actually feel the emotions I'm feeling and not get taken off always by my thoughts, and the ability to switch between the two, like to be able to observe thoughts and not get swept away with them and feel what my emotions are doing in my body still. And like, it's a shit ton, man. It's a shit ton of fucking work. And if I do all of that correctly, then I I get like this consistent, breathless, heavy, weighted, icy pain in my chest that just sits there, and yet somehow feels it, it feels relieving. It feels really painful, but it feels like a clean pain rather than like an infected pain, I guess. And it'll be there for hours, and sometimes tears will just slowly leak down my face, because crying, like fully sobbing, is still something that's like not a coping mechanism we can yet access, really, though I am hopeful. And it's like we do all that and we manage, and then we get this, and we breathe into it, and we sit with it, and we soothe each other, and we're here for each other, and we don't try and change it, and we do everything right. Like, I've never, what did Valentine say? Yeah, I've never worked so hard in my life to feel like absolute shit all the time. And it's like, yeah, yeah. Thank you. I might, if you really don't mind. I like it. I do agree though. It's like maybe for shorter, just for quicker getting out words. I might. And it's like this the feeling of like, wow, I recognize that it's taken a lot of work, and that it's really significant, and I'm really grateful to be able to have this much contact with my emotions and to be able to really feel, because it's taken so many fusions and it takes so many parts of me and so much bravery from younger parts to share these feelings. So I'm really grateful that I can feel this. And it's not fucking fair that I have to we have to feel this all the time. It's nothing wrong with us for these emotions being there. And it's not fair that we have so much, I guess it's grief to sit with, and it feels like it's sort of this is it, like processing, and because it sort of for like hours at a time, every day, if we're lucky, if we manage to like not get re-traumatized or go into shock or get too dissociated, and barring rest days, this is like an everyday thing. And it's like I'm I don't want it to stop. I don't want anyone just until it's ready to. I mean, I want to be able to sit with this emotion and this feeling however long it needs. I don't want any part of me to feel like it has to be rushed through or has to be pulled away. It's not what I mean. And I wonder when we're going to get to feel some other emotions that might exist in the body and might, like, I at least kind of feel the external bits of them. There are some people in here that that's the best they've experienced ever. There's a lot to feel so much unprecedented new amounts of gratitude and amazement and awe for us and strength and heartbreak and bitter regret at how unfair things are, that this is our experience every fucking day, and that I don't feel like I even really fully understand how unfair it is yet, because I'm still kind of more relieved than anything that we have this relief. And I don't really have the comparison of it being better, because before this was just dissociation and like looping trauma cycles and a complete disconnect from our body and our emotions and a complete fragmentation of the self so that we can only experience like limited boxed bits of emotion each. So like this authentic fullness is the best we've ever experienced, and to us this, this is relief. And I'm trying to understand what it would be like to approach this from the other side. And I can't. I can't imagine what it would be like to understand. I can't imagine what it would be like. We've There's never been a time where we weren't a system, where we didn't hold trauma. It's been like this since birth. So I suppose on the silver lining side, not to be toxically positive, because I can just sit here and be like, this is fucking unfair, and that's valid. It's just like, I also thought, like, yeah, it's fucking harrowing. And it means I have no idea of how good things can get. Things are going to get better than I can even conceptualize, and that we even know. So that's kind of cool. I thought that healing would be like, like I mentioned, like neatly categorizing stuff, and it's the opposite. And also, I thought trauma would be like feeling immediately better or feeling free of all negative emotions. And it's like, it's not really any of those things. It's just becoming big enough and strong enough that those things are survivable, and being able to have a sense of self have purpose, have a life around them. Healing isn't what I expected in a lot of ways, and it's it's better and more otherworldly and magical than I could ever imagine. The dimensions and layers we have access to are like nothing I could have dreamed of. And the realizations and the, oh, well, this is just gonna fucking continue forever, and we learn to be okay with it, and we feel better and more able to house it in a way that I couldn't imagine before, is an adjustment. It takes an adjustment, I guess, of I guess I'm adjusting my expectations. I guess that's what this is. My expectations are adjusting. Never have fucking expectations. Accept the chaos of the unknown. Embrace optimistic nihilism. Alright. Radical acceptance. And I'm allowed to be mopey about the bursting of that bubble for as long as I like. Alright, I'm really tired.